Yes, I will now present my abstract. I have nothing to disclose, no conflict of interest. The aim of our study was to assess the prevalence of persistent major levator ani muscle defects and associated maternal and obstetric factors. 243 primiparous women with vaginal delivery were included. The women were examined with transperineal ultrasound at 6 weeks and 1 year postpartum. Major levator ani muscle defects were diagnosed using tomographic imaging, ultrasound imaging according to defined criteria. So, we defined 2 groups. Persistent major defects were defined as a defect at 6 weeks postpartum and a defect at 1 year postpartum. No major defect were defined as all women without a major defect at any time point, and those women with a major defect at 6 weeks, but not a major defect at 1 year postpartum. So we studied the association between persistent major defect and the following maternal and obstetric factors listed here. In our study population, mean maternal age was 29.7 years, and mean pre-pregnancy BMI was 23.7. In total, 78.6% had a non-instrumental delivery, and 19.3% underwent a vacuum delivery, while 2.1% had a forceps delivery. The prevalence at 6 weeks postpartum was 21%. At 1 year postpartum, 10.3% of the women had a major defect. And no new major defects were found at 1 year postpartum. We found that women with persistent major defect had longer second stages of labor, and their offspring had higher birth weights compared to women without persistent major defects. Furthermore, there was an association between persistent major defects and vacuum delivery and anal sphincter injury. So, to conclude, major defect decreased from 6 weeks to 1 year postpartum. No new major defects were diagnosed at 1 year postpartum, and persistent major defects were associated with obstetric factors indicating difficult vaginal births. Thank you.
The presentation is open to questions. Yes?
Hi, Kamil Swabik from Prague. Could you explain what you mean persistent major defect? Is it like false positive rate of detection so early after pregnancy?
I'm sorry, if the...
You detect 6 weeks after delivery, which is
Yes.
quite early after delivery, high number of the major defect, and you didn't see them after 1 year. Is
Yes.
it because the false positive rate of the major detection so early?
Yes, it's an early time point for examination of this kind of defects. False positive is absolutely a possibility, but also we can see remodeling towards a healing process, maybe, that could explain the reduction.
Yeah, I would be very careful if such a double, actually, this is more than 100% or 50% healing issue. It's apparently rather false positive detection so early. And because we look at that as well, and we just found, and I had a chance to do the blindly, one of the group do the assessment, the same conclusion. I found they actually misdiagnosed it, overdiagnosed it so early after delivery. So I would be very careful with the conclusion it's healing. I would rather call it false positive rate.
Yes, we agree that false positive and a healing could be causes of this reduction.
Any further questions? Yes?
I was just wondering if you actually palpated for a defect instead of just only looking at ultrasounding?
In this study, we only looked at the imaging and the analysis of the transperineal ultrasound. So these persistent defects were based on solely a visible or non-visible defect in ultrasound imaging. So,
because it is actually reasonably easy to palpate, so it would be good to do that correlation to see. And also I was just wondering if you felt 6 weeks of breastfeeding may have caused some, natural atrophy of tissues, and then at 1 year they may have stopped breastfeeding, so there might be some plumping up of tissue.
yes, but yeah.
I have a comment connecting it to the previous presentation. Maria Yehagen mentioned about the problem with anal sphincter rupture. You found an association in your study with anal sphincter rupture, and that's why I was thinking about Rika's presentation, that could be a possibility. Did you think about if you connected that in your analysis, because you found a strong connection there?
Yeah, we saw a high odds ratio of anal sphincter injuries.
Okay, any further questions? Thank you very much indeed, Tuva. Thank you.